Nick Cohen is an entrepreneurial leader and innovator recognized as a finalist for Young Business Person of the Year and lauded for outstanding contributions to enterprise. Nick has built his career at the intersection of business strategy, marketing, and growth, adept at turning bold ideas into real-world impact. He has been deeply involved in the startup and business community, notably with Startup Grind, where he's earned respect for both his leadership and vision.
Wow.
Which is always
you said judgment based on what is going on in the market at the time. Yep. I've seen a lot of, and I want you to talk a little bit more about how you are able to easily pivot when you saw the change in consumer landscape. Because I see a lot of business, they are trying to do something, but the customers are saying, we are no longer interested in this. So, for instance, real life example, and I'm very sorry to have to cite this example. Somebody that I know that has a corner shop, and he told me that immediately after COVID, consumer behavior has changed, and people now want somebody to, they don't want to come into the shop again. They would prefer, from talking to his own customer would prefer if somebody would bring it to their house after COVID. But this man said he doesn't want to do it. So he was now incentivizing people coming into the store. But eventually the business died. So I'm asking you now, you went through something like that and you were easily able to see where the future is going to be. How, as a business person, as an entrepreneur, how do you quickly pivot? What are the framework? What are the mindset that you must have to be able to spot that your customers are looking for something entirely different?
So I definitely did that late, because if I, and this is a lesson that I always remember, if I had identified this early enough, I wouldn't have expanded and opened up that second side or bought over this other business and opened up this second side to PC repair. So that's definitely something that stayed with me. There is the emotional bit. So it's interesting you said easily pivot. It wasn't an easy pivot.
Oh, nice.
It's me saying it as if it was easy, but in the time, PC repair was the baby. PC repair was the original bit of the business. So when the thought came on the table of we might need to get rid of it, it's no, of course we're not. That's PCR stands for PC repair. That's where it all comes from. And that was the bit of the business that was going to be the growth part. So I completely got the timing of that wrong, and I know I got the timing of that wrong. And whilst we sold PC repair on, we didn't make money on the sale. It was passing off the brand and passing off the customers in the marketplace that we created from that, which was good. But I still had the debt we took on to expand that part of the business, and something actually I was very proud of when we came through it all was, we could have taken that part of the business and got rid of it, but we didn't. We still traded as we were, and paid off things like the loans that we took on as part of the expansion, because it goes back to that whole I want to be able to sleep at night and do the right thing. There might have been an option, didn't explore it, to have, got rid of that part and Phoenix the rest of it. But no, we worked through it, and we got the business back to a very kind of strong, even keel. Because we did announce that we sold PC repair, but it wasn't a successful sale. It was a moving on from that part of the market sale, because it wasn't right for us. But I think you've got to be very, very objective with these things and listen to the market and not let emotions take anything from it, anything from you. I will never forget, because we built PC repair up from being a home-based service into something we had to decide for. We were then starting to really analyse, well, what could a reimagined PC repair look like when we started to see this dip. And the more and more I looked at it, the big thing for me that stood out was the average cost of a job that we did was plummeting.
Oh.
So in the early days, we would have people come to us and spend £300, £400, easily £100 fixing and upgrading and improving their PC. The idea today that someone would spend £300 or £400, it's not going to happen.
Just my head and
It's not going to happen. So what we then started to notice is our average job was then starting to become sub 100, because people would come to us to get a virus removed, but then if it was anything more than that, they'd probably they'd can it and start again with something new, or they just factory reset it themselves. I'll never forget the day, I sound old making these kind of references, but when Windows 7 was released, and one of my engineers showed me him building a PC for the first time with Windows 7, and how as soon as he built the PC and got it connected to the internet, it kind of built itself. All the drivers installed it. You know, in the early days, we used to have to put 1 or 2 hours of manpower into that, whereas at this point, this was a part of our job that was gone because the operating system became more reliable. Wow. Even just the other day, I wiped a Windows 11 PC that I've got, and it's so easy. Anyone can do that now. Whereas in the olden days, it was a job for somebody to do, you know? So that's really when we saw that market was starting to become up for threat. We did try and diversify. We did move into tablet and smartphone repairs, but then we weren't doing it at the volume and the speed that needed to be done in that marketplace. We really played at it. We didn't do it right. And that would have required quite a different change. But if you look at the high street now, you don't see the number of repair shops that would have existed back then. And it's the exact same thing with the television repair market. These were things that people used to get fixed. Nowadays, you just bin it and buy a new one from Amazon or Currys or wherever. So it's really understanding that change in consumer behavior. And then obviously where we are now, you've got the technology revolution with the likes of AI coming into play. It's even faster than it was before. So it's important that you spot these things as opposed to jump into these things. Nick, as a teenager, jumped into these things. Nick now is a lot more reserved, calculating and considered with that approach. But a lot of that's lessons learned as opposed to things that people possibly told me these things when I was younger and I probably didn't listen. As a lot of people
That's impressive. Let's talk about money. Is it okay if we talk about money?
Yeah.
What is the highest amount of money you've made in your business?
Oh, I don't know if I'll go on to talk about that kind of detail.
Okay.
PCR was a successful business. Not the most profitable space in terms of margin. I'll talk about that. We used to always laugh. So we were part of an ecosystem as a IT managed service provider. There's always other partners around there. So the other kind of partners you'd see would be telecoms providers who provided the connectivity. We would then provide the internal network, so the routing, networking, switching, Wi-Fi, all that kind of stuff. We'd also then be part of the software ecosystem. So our clients used to use third-party software for their industry or for accounting, Sage, these kind of things. So we would often be at the heart of all of this, where we would glue together
all of this,
printers, the software, all these different things. And we always would laugh. We were always the last person to be there at the very end when something would go wrong. Because let's say our customer had some critical software and it failed, or it was failing, or the function was failing. We would speak to the software vendor and they would say, oh, it's not us. We would then speak to the internet service provider, thinking it might be an internet related issue, for example. Oh no, your internet's fine. We're running tests from, the other side of the world and everything's fine. So we'd be the only ones still there to hold the customer's hand to get them through it. Often either not being paid directly for this job or being part of a retainer. And the amount of times that we would be literally the last one there. Now, it might be that it was within our territory to fix, but it also might be that we need to just hold the software company to account that they've got a bug and prove that they've got a bug, and then they'll have to go and fix the bug.
Wow.
Because it's very easy for them to say, it's not us, it's the infrastructure. It's quite easy to kind of thing it off. So as a result of that, the IT managed service space, the margins on it can be very, very tight, because you can't then turn around to the customer and say, well, we've spoken to them. It's not us. Goodbye, Mr. Customer,
You have to stay with them.
That was our philosophy. Now, some of our competitors didn't used to do that, and that's what helped us win business, because we would always be there till the end, even if we're now no longer, on the clock and things that we shouldn't really be doing. But these are always the things, going back to what I said before, that really built the customer bond up, and that would build that loyalty, that we're really there as your partner. We know that you're struggling. So that would always be, something that would win us brownie points, if you want to call it. But it's also doing the right thing, because customers are coming to us to trust us. But that was definitely one of the reasons why in the latter stages of me being in PCR, we tried to build other models that would bring in revenue that didn't involve people, revenue that didn't involve time being billed, so that we could build our margins up, which we managed to do. Awesome. We managed to bring in some products that really hit the bottom line, as opposed to needing to employ more engineers to then because we always felt that we were, pushed on that front. But we built a very solid business with PCR, which ultimately was acquired and taken into a wider group, which is where it all resides now. Definitely learned my lessons when things weren't going well versus when lessons were going well. That's a really key part of it, and try and not get too carried away with money, because that's an important part.
Okay.
For sure.
So, assuming you are starting again today, you want to go into any sector of business. Let's say you want to still do IT.
Yep.
How will the Nick of 2025? How are you going to approach it? I'm asking that because I see most entrepreneurs that I speak to, they start from the wrong place. Well, this is what I mean by that. When you started from a customer need. It was a real, genuine need that customers are willing to pay for. And, it was something that started gradual, as against somebody creating a solution and now looking for problem. How, I want you to walk me through your framework of how you're going to start. If you are to start an IT business or any business today, what's the framework that you are going to use to ensure you become profitable in the first 6 months?
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about creating solutions for problems. Creating problems for solutions or whatever. It's very much being focused on, are you solving a genuine need? Are you hitting a spot? Because there's a lot of businesses that get started today to play with a bit of technology that don't actually hit the crux of fixing something for someone. So that's definitely a focus. I mean, I've been out of full-time work now for a couple of years. Get asked very regularly by friends and family, what you're doing next, when you're going to go and get a job, and all of that. And I have been looking. I mean, there's no denial in that. There's a couple of startups that I've almost joined. One I got quite far with, and then decided it wasn't right for me, and stepped away from that. So I'm very much at the stage, I do some investing, but very much at the stage now where I am looking for something. So I'd quite like to know this myself.
This is going to be the last segment. It's usually about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. So I will want you to talk to me about what are the lessons you've learned over the years as an entrepreneur, and what will be your advice for somebody who wants to build a stable, profitable business.
Okay.
What sort of the blueprints that what is Nick's blueprint for building a £1 million business?
Okay. So lessons learnt. I suppose the biggest lesson that I always referred back to is just understanding failure, understanding that when something doesn't go the way you think it's going to go, that's okay. If you've never done something before, how did you know that was going to happen? And it's learning the lessons from why things haven't gone to plan to then build on for the future. But then also not to take it personally, which is sometimes easier said than done. But that whole kind of fail fast mindset is absolutely the case, which is get to the bottom of it. And if this is dud and it's not worth pursuing, move on. And I would say that was relevant to me in the repair space. And I'm not saying that it was dud in the sense that it is still a market that does still exist, but it's not what it was, and it's not what I wanted it to become. And the market is the market, the customers are the customers. So that's quite an important one. And then if something doesn't go to plan, or you've made a bad judgment call, don't dwell on it for too long. Give yourself a little bit, but we're all human. Everyone takes things differently. Let yourself dwell and digest it, but then move on from it, and don't be too harsh, because let's say a mistake costs you money. The more time you dwell on that, the less time you're spending making that money back, if that makes sense. Yes, which is quite important. And I suppose something similar goes with the likes of recruiting people and hiring people, which is make sure you hire slow and fire fast. Make sure you get the right people in through the door. But then if you don't have the right people there, a bad person can spoil the bunch. It can cost customer relationships, and it can cause other people to leave. So it's important you get those dynamics correctly, and don't just bring somebody in through the door because you think they're going to solve a problem. Make sure that you know that they're going to be a good part of that team, which is really, really key. But in terms of blueprint, I mean, I suppose what I've said a few times, it is just about thinking things through fully, being fair, transparent, share the good so that you all carry the bad. So for me, a blueprint would very much be not starting something again on my own. I would probably want to be with other founders, founding team, because you can share that properly rather than being isolated. The founder journey is very isolating. Even in a founding team, it can be very isolating, but having a team means you've got a shared problem maybe, or a shared opportunity, which is exciting. So that would definitely be part of it for me. If you are starting up on your own, really consider, is there somebody that you could bring in? But also don't be fixated on you have to have a co-founder or be part of a wider team for that. That's just my own experience. I like working with other people. So for me, that's quite important. But blueprint for starting something today, for me, it wouldn't be the most cutting edge piece of tech that isn't going to make any money for a while. For me, it needs to be sensible. There needs to be a business model in there, and there needs to be something that will generate ideally recurring revenues from quite early on. You might develop something more advanced alongside this, but ultimately it's important that a business can stand on its own 2 feet. If a business is fragile, if a business is in a very difficult space, all it takes is for some outside market forces to kick in that can push you under. Whereas if a business has its own legs and is generating money that keeps itself alive, if the market goes weird, you've got cash, you can weather the storm a bit. Think of the people that were carrying fragile business models at the time when COVID first hit. Some people that escalated their business and they did phenomenal because COVID lent into what their business was trying to achieve or what. But there were people that were carrying things that got killed by that, and nobody had any control over COVID. So I think for me, it needs to be, you want as many chips in your side that you can play. That would be an absolute basics. But yeah, for me, assembling the right team, having an offering that genuinely solves a problem, speaking to the market, as I said before, and then kind of getting on with it, not spending too much time locked away before the world gets to start seeing it, because the sooner you get out there, the sooner you can start to properly market test it. It's quite key.
That's bang on. Thank you so much.
Good. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Yeah.